So this board here that you're looking at is actually kind of brought back to life. It was really beat up.
We are here in Hawaii, the birthplace of surfing, and the spot Piahi, otherwise known as Jaws.
Jaws is just an intense wave. It gets as big as anywhere in the world, if not bigger, and it carries the shape of a perfect wave that you'd find anywhere else. You know, it feels like you're surfing 50 to 60 foot backdoor when you're dropping in. The thing is literally shoveling and bending down the line at you, and there's not too many big waves that carry such an amount of wall through the whole wave.
Such is the sheer power and size of Jaws, only up until about 5 years ago, it was only really ridden with the assistance of jet skis. In 2011, a handful of big wave surfers, led by Hawaiian charger Shane Dorian, stopped towing altogether and started paddling Jaws. This started a whole new revolution in big wave surfing. You not only had to have a big set of balls and a lot of skill, but you had to have a very special surfboard made.
The first day that he came to surf there with me to paddle in, he rode this big, thick donkey of a 10.6, like 4-inch thick rails it felt like, and just a big moose. Like, I picked it up and I was like, how is this thing ever gonna turn under your feet out there?
What was this made for? Like, why was this shape?
You know, I had a board that was made for Jaws for the first time I ever paddled Jaws. And that board ended up going on the rocks there. Basically at Jaws, anytime you break your leash, your board goes on the rocks and pretty much gets destroyed. So I had 4 new 10.6s that were exactly like it, built, and this was one of them.
Hey guys. Oh good, here, let me bring that in. Jaws was, at first, was just towed in. And I know Shane was a pioneer of that. You know, one of the pioneers, and he'd be riding like 5.6s out there, towing in with the jet skis. Shane came to me and said, I want to paddle in these waves. And so we started really thinking about it, and we came up with the PBU series, Pray Before Use, you know, kind of like break the glass for the fire alarm thing, you know, break the glass before use with a hatchet.
This is, it's a 10.6, it's 21 inches wide, and it's almost 4 inches thick. So you're always going to need a big board to paddle into a big wave, but we've come a long way as far as the fin setup. I'm riding a quad now, which is new for me. It's a very contemporary design.
This board is different, say, than a 10-year-ago design, or even 5-year-ago design, is the older boards were more pointy, and they had more rocker. And we all thought we had to have a lot of rocker, and so we developed this, back to the 70s, was the beak nose. Yeah, it was real popular in the 70s. Reverse foil, and like the America's Cup, the catamarans, all the high-speed boats are using these now. And they'll go underwater, and because it's a reverse foil, it actually provides lift, and it goes underwater and it just climbs itself back in. The Jaws, you got chop that's like this big. You can't go over it. Just can't do it, you know, and that was with the tow boards. They were narrow and thin. They could just go right through this stuff, and heavy. Surfboard always wants to climb up. We can go right through this stuff. You know, this board here weighs about 27 to 30 pounds. They're hard to carry. They're really hard to carry. I have no idea how they get them up and down the cliff. It's the planing speed. The board all of a sudden becomes lively, friendly, happy, and controllable. And all of a sudden, all that stuff that, you know, makes it hard to carry and everything, that's all your friend now.
I surfed this board at Jaws last year, and it was the best I'd ever seen it. And it was probably the very best paddle session that we've ever had at Jaws. I got one wave on this board that was a big hollow barrel, and I ended up not making it out. My leash broke, the board went on the rocks, and got nearly destroyed.
It's like somebody took like a ball peen hammer and a little axe and went bop, 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 132 times on it, you know, but completely destroyed the board. But I completely rebuilt it, you know, and I go, you know, you can actually, if you don't crack your stringer, you know, you can put these things back, you can make them like a car, you know, like restored an old Chevy or something like that. To rebuild the whole nose from about here. I mean, pretty much a whole summer. And we don't have as much to do around here as the summers.
This is a lot of work for him. I mean, when I order a board like this, it takes him about a month to make it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of man hours in this board.
Right.
So they're very difficult to make, so I don't get very many of them. It's a big deal when I do order one. And the second thing is I got one of the most memorable waves of my whole life on this board. So for me, there is an emotional attachment. I really want to ride it. I'm going to bring this board back over to Maui, and it'll definitely be a backup on the next swell at Jaws.
Awesome.
Go for the eye. Beauty always has a way of prevailing. And there's something about things that look right. They always are right. Remember, Ben Ipa said there's two kinds of surfers, those that ride waves and those that surf waves. And Shane is definitely one of the ones that surfs waves.